We got a lot of people coming in today. My name is Amber May, but some of you may know me as Foxxy Lee in the fandom. Or you could know me as Copper Chip, but oh. So kawaii. Awesome. I'm your host today, but I can tell you a little bit about me, a little bit. I'm a voice actor. I've voiced in animations, a few video games, a few things for the our lovely horse fandom back in the early days. My Little Portal. I remember. Who remembers that one? I remember it. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows and all of that one. Anything from TRY. Anyway, so no one remembers that. Anyway, so enough about me. Let's get started. Let's get started. I'm gonna keep these intros short so we have enough time to hear from our panelists. So let's get cracking. Up first, who's ready? She changed her name, and she'd do it again. This actor has voiced over 500 roles over the years, but we know her most as the fabulous Rarity and the banana peel-loving Princess Luna. You remember that episode. Introducing Tabitha St. Germain. Sporting a fabulous pink hair. Lovely blood. Next up, I'm gonna stand over here. There we go. Next up, we've got, she has a gorgeous singing voice, and she uses said voice to perform Twilight singing roles in the show and the main intro itself. Oh, let's not forget the notable role as Sunset Shimmer. Let's hear it for Rebecca Shoichet. I got it right? Yeah. Next up, we have yet another amazing singer, an actor who provides the singing voice for Rarity and Princess Luna. She's also the voice of Adagio Dazzle from Rainbow Rocks and Twilight's childhood best friend, Moon Dancer. Let's welcome Kazumi Evans! Yay! Hi. Our next actor has been a stage, TV, and voice actor for over 15 years. Her roles in My Little Pony include Pinkie Pie's singing voice, Silver Spoon, and the Super Tsundere Smolder. Put your hooves together for Shannon Chan-Kent. Woo! Whoop, 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 whoop.
She's the cutest dragon.
And next we have the first male of our panelists. He's an Australian actor who gladly put on a southern accent to play the role of Applejack's father, Bright McIntosh. He likes traveling, video games, scotch, whiskey, and cats. Let's hoop and holler for Bill Newton. Bill. Oh, and unfortunately, I have some pretty sad news. Maurice LaMarche, he will not be able to attend today. He didn't feel too well this morning, so hoping for the best for him. But he will be at the interview for the one-on-one. That's the next panel. So let's let him rest up for this one and give everyone a hand here. Yes. Alrighty. Are we ready? I am. Ready. So the first question for everyone, how are you guys enjoying the con so far? Like for some of you, is it your first BABSCon or first pony convention in general? How is it?
Love it.
Good.
So fun.
So amazing.
This is my second time, and I love the energy here at BABSCon. It's so fantastic.
Woo! I love the ears. Bacon hair.
Sizzling.
Sweet, fantastic. So our second question is, what was a role that you found most difficult to do up until now in your career? Doesn't have to be for My Little Pony. It could be any of the roles that you've ever had over the years.
Hit it, Bill.
We can just go down the line with this one, or if anyone wants to volunteer.
Yeah, so just recently, I've been working with somebody you all know, Peter New.
Who's that?
Doing some guy. Doing a podcast, and in the podcast, the character that I play has to speak with a Dutch accent. Ooh. Now, I'm not an expert on it, and we're not trying to be completely authentic, but for one of the recording sessions, I could not hold the accent, and I kept slipping into South African, which then had me slipping back into Australian. And we had to go back and do a whole bunch of re-records, and I spent the next couple of weeks between sessions going, is he going to fire me from something I'm not getting paid for? But I pulled it together, and then the session after that. But usually I don't struggle too badly, but that was one where I was questioning myself going, am I even good at this?
Have you ever done accent training?
No.
Ever had to? No. You're
hell
just
no.
naturally
Never
good
had
at it.
to.
That's
He
a
was
gift.
Born that way.
I mean, I know South Africa, like, you're like, oh, I'm slipping into South African. But that is, like, one of the hardest accents to
I
do.
don't know
And you're
what
like, la-di-da, just slipping into South African.
South African, I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
don't know what you're talking about either. I think it's a very easy accent.
I mean, it's really close to Australian anyway.
It's really close.
It is.
Which is the problem, because I was doing Dutch, which, you know, there's Afrikaans, which comes from the Dutch.
Yeah.
And so I was slipping into South African, and then I was just doing Australian, which is really close. You just change some of the words a little bit. And I was like, it's Australian.
You can totally see how that
I think
would
it's pretty
happen.
amazing how you can just flip your accent on and off, and it's
Acting!
such a talent.
Acting!
Everybody,
Acting! You gotta do that when you say it. Acting! There you go.
genius, thank you.
That,
Most difficult role? Well,
Up to this point.
physiologically, it was playing Gotenks in Dragon Ball Z. Because it's all, kind of stuff. So it just gets really, it gets really hard on your throat, and then you end up with nodes and die.
Any secrets on how to handle that when you have those screaming?
Don't take those roles.
Don't even audition for them.
Taking
Yeah.
mental
Because
notes
once
here.
you get offered a role, they're like, you're sure you don't want to work? And you're like, well, because we're actors, and you want to take every role that you get offered, because you never know when the next role will come.
A gig is a gig is a gig. Yeah.
so true.
But there are some people who seem to have like pavement over their vocal cords, and they can take
Right.
that kind of thing. So my philosophy later in life is just leave that to them. People who are like already made of gravel.
Brian Drummond.
Brian Drummond.
Brian Drummond.
Drummond.
Let Brian Drummond do those.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's my stunt double.
Mine too.
Gotta throw a drop.
Oh, gosh. I'm really, I apologize, but my mind has gone kind of blank. But honestly, I think one of the harder, what, do you have a suggestion?
No, darn it. I said you're perfect.
We're like,
So you never struggle.
Nothing's
You're
hard for me.
struggling to find when you struggle.
No, honestly, but one of the hardest roles I've ever had to play was Sunset Shimmer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why, is because when the very first movie that I came into, I was so excited to be finally getting a character role in anything My Little Pony related. That, I mean, I had the singing role of Twilight already, but I really, really wanted an acting role. And so I came into this room with these lovely ladies who had been like doubling up on roles and had a rhythm and had everything going, and I was sweating bullets. I was so nervous, and so it's funny because you come up against your own ego all the time, and so that was probably the hardest step that I had to face. That one, but I would say Rainbow Rocks was even harder because it's easy to be a villain. It's really hard to be a reformed villain, to come back and be this quivering mess, and then all of a sudden have to rebuild yourself. And as you know, and finding that place where she sat was a decision between the writers and the directors and myself. And I'm like, really, that mean? Like, or you know, that kind of question of like, I'm not sure where this is sitting with me yet, because it was so easy to be and fully evil because it's such an extreme. But then to come back and be this kind of I don't know, quivering mess, and in between, it was challenging. So that was probably the hardest I've had.
Wow, that's awesome. For me, anything to do with whistling. I can't whistle. I've never been able to whistle. So many people, I know so many people. It's a very sore point. So many people over the years have tried to teach me to whistle, and they said, oh, by the end of this week, I'll have you whistling. And they all have given up because I'm just so bad at it. Tabitha usually is, if she's in the room, my stunt whistler, because I can't do it. And yeah, I just go lightheaded. I just can't do it.
My hardest role, I think, was when I first started this show called Slug Terra for Disney XD. And I played a girl named Trixie. And I was in the room, it was only me, the only female. I think I started that when I was like maybe 20 or 21. And I was working with all the vets, all the amazing men. And she was like the token girl, badass. And it was intimidating, and I felt like it was really hard for me to embrace that. And I think it took me like a few seasons to really get into her and to really get comfortable making those choices, because for the men in the room, it was so easy. And for me, I think I consider myself I consider myself a strong, confident woman. But for some reason, it was really hard to translate and find that in the character. It was very awkward for me, and I don't usually feel that awkward. But for some reason, she was tough. She was a tough one. But now I'm like, whatever, I got it.
Yes. And the best thing about these roles, you learn how you struggle with them in the beginning, and then you become so used to it later.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
The growing curve is steep, for sure, because as soon as you're immersed with all the other actors around you that are super strong or confident, like, you learn fast how to just let your judgment go and just try things and just be brave.
And like even doing, something like Walla, or, like doing all these, okay, so in between the lines we have some action sequences, and then you have to like, and like fall through, and one of the directors will give us like an action sequence to do, and all these, so many people are so amazing at it, and it's just, when you're in the room, you just learn. You learn by watching and listening, but when you're newish and like trying to be an action person, and you're like, it's very scary.
It's a nice reminder also when we struggle that we're always learning. Like, we're never at a point where we just go like, nah, I've got it all taken care of. So I actually don't mind when those struggles come up, because it's just like, oh, okay, I can get through this, and if I don't, I'll get fired. So I have to get through this. But yeah, like I feel like we, I know I never want to, and I'm sure none of you do too, that I never want to kind of rest on any laurels and just go like, I got this covered, don't even worry about it. I always want to be kind of like pushing and trying to learn, so when those struggles come up, it's kind of refreshing. I try to make it a positive.
Yes. Something negative into a positive. That's life. All right. Next one is, tell us about a time where you walked into a session and were completely blown away by the person in the room with you. I'm pretty sure that has
Tabitha St.
happened
Germain.
at some point, if anyone has any stories.
I remember when I first started working, Tabitha was like on every single show I ever worked on. And I was like, who is this magical creature? I want to be her, be my friend. And I was like, you are the most incredible actress.
Thank you.
And so versatile. And I just like my family came yesterday, and we were sitting at autographs, and I was like, that's Tabitha St. Germain. She's like the queen of voiceover. You're never gonna find anyone that's better than her. Look at her lineup. She's so amazing. So you're like my idol.
Thank you.
I ate dinner with her last night.
Very nice. Shut up.
Oh, hell the moon.
All right, well, that was fun.
When have you been blown away?
When have I been blown away? Geez, right now I'm doing a series. I'm not allowed to talk about it or I'll have to kill you.
It's NDA.
Yeah, but there's a guy, I think I can say this because it's not giving anything away about the show, but I don't know his last name.
That's good.
And his name is Andrew, and he's, do you know,
Yeah.
what's Andrew's last name?
I
He's
don't know
LL,
either.
Jamie's
no
client,
idea.
and been on
Andrew McNee.
Andrew McNee.
Oh, damn.
Oh
And
my, he is amazing. He's a theater guy.
Yes.
Theater guy.
Fantastic.
He actually came in one day to record with us at MLP, and so you may meet him in the future. And he came in that day, and I don't know what happened. I fell out of the wrong side of the bed, but I was super cranky that morning, and he came in, and he was such a ray of sunshine. And I was like, who adores Jay in here? And then, so now I'm on this show with him, and he's an incredibly flexible actor and with a theater background, and just I love people who are improvisers that can really just kind of like
Go with it.
Yeah, just take the ball and run, and he's one of those. So that's Andrew McNee. So look out for that dude.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And he has super crazy hair, which is so fun.
That's an amazing skill
Yeah,
to
I was
have.
blown away by hair because I'm shallow.
Take notes out there. Hair. All right. Oh, this question was for Maurice. He'll be at the next one, though. The last one for it. Okay, so some of you started your acting career through stage, TV, or stand-up comedy. How easy was it for you to transfer those skills into voice acting? Like, you're literally behind a mic in a room by yourself, there's no one physically present to perform or play off of. Was it different for you when you first started out, when you transferred from these?
For me, I started out, as many of us actually, I think, on this panel did, in musical theater. And I think it wasn't such a hard transition from theater to voiceover, just because the similarities between theater and voiceover is that both of them kind of live in this larger-than-life realm. And in theater, you're taught to project to the very back of the room so that the patrons at the very back of the theater can hear and feel what you're saying. And it's kind of the same with voiceover. In the sense that, yeah, the larger-than-life aspect, and also just really projecting and really kind of giving this character your all. So I didn't feel like it was such a far leap, whereas I think from a television background, it's very, your performance is very contained. It's quite a lot more natural and smaller.
Yeah, in theater they say, we can always pull you back if you go too far, but we can't make you go bigger unless you give us energy.
Absolutely.
So,
I like that.
so the bigger you are behind the microphone, the more emotions and things like that translate into that character. And so they can go, okay, let's just draw that back in. And so
Totally.
that's some of the information that I learned was helpful that I had in theater background
Yeah.
that worked behind the mic. Also, having music can help with dynamics and tone and pacing, and learning about the musicality of a show, because the voice is like is a musical instrument.
And from the theater, I learned that there are no small parts, only small dressing rooms.
Wait, you got dressing rooms? Yeah, I didn't come from a musical theater background, but I did come from a theater background and an improv background. And yeah, it's already been said, but it's that ability to kind of, roll with what's happening. And yeah, the theater aspect, at first it was a little bit of a struggle, because my first jobs in voiceover in North America were anime dubbing. And so you do that by yourself. And so that was different for me, because I had done, it was a little bit like commercials I'd done, except the commercials are very contained and very short, and they don't really, you just kind of do it. Sorry commercials. But you just kind of do whatever, and then the anime was a little bit of a trick. I pretended I knew what was happening with the beeps. So there's 3 beeps, and then on the imaginary 4th beep is when you go and you say your line. and I pretended I knew what was happening. And I think maybe the director I worked with sensed that, but nobody said anything, and they were just like, "Oh, you're just coming in a little bit early or a little bit late, so we'll just like tighten that back up." And then I figured it out, and I think they figured out that I figured it out, and it was just like, "Yep, all professionals here." But I really love ensemble work for prelay, because it's when you get to be in the room with everybody, and it takes me back to that theater dynamic of working off people and kind of feeling the energy in the room and from the director, and everything. I feel personally, for me, it comes together a lot more easily. So that's the kind of work that I feel it's a really for me, a pretty easy translation. So that was not as much of a learning curve.
See.
Yeah.
I started straight into voice acting and then jumped to theater afterwards, so I did it backwards. I had good projection and everything, I just didn't know what to do with my body to look realistic. So I did have a casting director as I was doing in my first anime. He said, "Stop, do this again, but this time you're allowed to move around, you know?" And that actually helped. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I do occasionally get pulled up to stop moving because the mic will pick it up. So like if you go to like run, they'll be like, don't lift your feet
don't
because
stomp.
we can hear you go dum 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 dum, and we'll put that in as an effect. And certain kinds of clothing, sometimes if I go for a running action, I'll do that, and if I'm wearing like a rustling shirt, they'll be like, "Can you move less, please?"
Don't wear rustling shirts.
Yeah, no rustling shirts.
Words of wisdom for the day.
Yeah, it's going to be my epitaph.
No.
This question, you all kind of answered this one. Is there a voice actor that you really looked up to when you were younger or first starting out that inspired you to be the actor you are today?
Leah Salonga. Leah Salonga. She was the singing voice for Mulan and Princess Jasmine, and she's a huge star on Broadway in Miss Saigon, and amongst a bunch of other things. So, yeah. Yes. Everyone's just like, "Aw, bless her." She is amazing. She's fantastic. I love her.
I think a lot of Disney actors inspired us. Just
Oh, all of them. They still
I know
inspire
they
me.
inspired me.
I love one person that came to mind was Carol Burnett, and how she, her improv skills and her, she was just one of those people that was just like, how does she do that?
She's amazing.
For me, it was a few different ones. One of them is here at this con this weekend, which is Maurice. Maurice and Rob Paulson and Tress MacNeille. Basically, anybody who was on Tiny Toons or Animaniacs.
Yeah, Animaniacs.
And Frank Welker.
Yes.
Who?
All sound effects.
Yeah, before, like when I was young and I started to learn who Frank Welker was, I was like, wait. The monkey in Aladdin was a person?
Yeah.
That was somebody doing that? What? And yeah, learning about, and then learning all the other roles, and then going, wait, also Freddy from Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
Who is this wizard? And like, learning about, so, late 80s, early 90s stars of anything on Nickelodeon or Disney and things like that. Those were the people that I was just like, oh, you can do this as a thing? Like, this is a job?
Yeah. I just worked with a guy, his name is Robbie Benson, and he was the voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. I didn't know who he was, and I just worked with him on a film, and he was the nicest guy, and he directed a bunch of Friends episodes too. Like, the guy has had a crazy career. And he was like, "Oh, you're very funny," or something like that. And I was like, "Thanks," or whatever. And then someone was like, he voiced the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. And I was like, and then and his wife is an amazing singer as well. And they met on Broadway doing Pirates of Penzance.
Oh.
And I just I don't know. I mean, I didn't know who he was before, but I just fangirl for any of the voice actors that had done the Disney films. And it was just such a different time. No one was a celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, they were getting different singing voices to do the acting.
Yeah.
It was just a different world.
They were
Anyways,
just doing their
he's
job.
A whole new
A
world.
whole new, okay.
A whole old.
Yeah, they got Jerry Orbach to be Lumiere.
A whole old
Like they'd never do that.
I know. Well, I'm sticking up for my people.
I just imagine Shannon after that going, Robbie Benson thinks I'm funny.
What? And everyone's like, you don't know who Robbie Benson is? He was like a heartthrob.
In the 80s.
Yes. I mean, he's a gorgeous, like the most beautiful eyes, and he was so sweet, and you would never know that he has had the career that he has had. He's the most humble human being. And then I asked him to do the Beast voice for me. And did he do it? Yes. He would, get out. I don't want to do it, but I was like, well, I just played Belle in the musical, and it wasn't nearly as cool as yours, but I'll sing with you if you want to sing with me.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. So this is going off the last question. This one's a little bit sadder. Did you ever have moments where you felt discouraged in the industry because either you compared yourself to your idols or your peers, or maybe there was a slow period where you weren't booking a lot of roles? If so, how did you press through it, and what gave you the motivation to keep auditioning and to just keep going?
Oh, this just got really real.
Very real.
Listen, Ralph, our agent, gets an email from me like,
Weekly?
right, Ralph? I'm never going to work again. Yeah, I got dark.
I think what's important is a balance in life, and that's something it's taken me a long time to learn. But you realize, as you do this more and more, that, a balance in your life is so important. That career, as actors, we get so focused on our career. And are we working, and what's next? And as we finish a job, we're always thinking, like, oh gosh, are we going to, be able to either pay bills, or are we going to be on another series? And, just really hoping for that. And that can cause a lot of anxiety and whatnot. And so that's why, for me, it's just finding other things in life that make you happy, whether it's family, whether it's your dog, whether it's going for a hike, whether it's writing, finding other things that bring you joy. So, when you do have a slower period, it's not your all and everything. And
It's really kind of just a human question, right? Like, it's not just actors. I'm sure everybody here has gone, where's my next paycheck coming from at some point in time? And you're always kind of having to deal with your inner life. And, so we do it against the background of our work, but everybody does it against the background of whatever's on their table, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess because you get seen, and there's something about, and you know what performance anxiety is like everything that's wrong with you that has been historically wrong with you from the time you were a baby wants to be dealt with 5 minutes before you go on stage. Yeah. And that is when it is the most intense, because you're going to be seen, and you're like, oh crap, I'm imperfect. They're going to know I'm a fraud. It's over. And you come out and you're confident, and like actors are staggering sometimes in the sheer bloody-minded confidence of some of them. I'm in awe, but then I go, that's out there. There's a squishy in there. There's always we're humans, and there's really nothing different at all about actors. Just the variables.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about what everybody's been saying, and a phrase came to mind it's a little dark, but like the sporadic nature of the work, and the fact that you may be on a series and have regular work, and imagine it was like just constantly being on contract jobs where you'd be like, okay, so I'm working, and then when this is over, it's over. Like, they're not going to go like, oh, but they might have something for you again later that you can do. But the phrase that came to mind was that the balance that Kazumi was saying, you absolutely need that, because this industry, and I'm sure many others, but from personal experience, this industry, you cannot give it all of you, because it will take all of you.
Yeah.
If you let it take all of you, that's when it will break you. So you need to have that balance so that you can have something else. And, you know, the support of loved ones and family is huge. I wouldn't even be on this continent if it wasn't for the support of my family and the people that love me. Because, you know, they believed in me and they supported me, and at no point, well, not no point, my mum did sort of do the whole, like, and what's the backup plan if this doesn't work out? But I know that that's from a place of worry and love. But nobody who was close to me said, is this really such a good idea? Maybe some of them should. But it's that support. You need that structure. Whatever it is, whether it's friends, family, you know, significant others, you have to find that, and the balance of finding something else in life, a hobby that you can throw a lot of yourself into as well. I find that something creative is really, really important outside of the creative thing we already do, because it's so important to remind yourself that you are not the sum of your body of work.
Yeah.
You're more than that. So a hobby that doesn't have anything to do with the way that you make money or, you know, the perceived value of you as a person is super valuable, because you can do that and not worry that, you know, like I like to take photos. I'm into photography, and I don't care that the pictures that I take aren't going up on gallery walls, or that people, you know, might want to or won't want to buy them for any money. I just do that for me. And so I can, at times, focus on that and not have to worry that, like, you know, oh, my photography is really bad. Oh, what am I doing? I'm a terrible creative. This is so bad. I save that for when the voiceover work is really slim on the ground, and you just like, and the agents really do help. Like, you know, Shannon's joking, but I've done a similar thing where I've just gone, so is everything okay? You know, to my agent Sam, and she'll just be like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. There's more auditions coming, and there are.
Yeah.
You know. So they know how to handle us. I think agents probably go through a school where it's just like, okay, these are actors and they are fragile. and they are going.
Ralph does
they
it.
are
I feel
going-
like your plan B, Shannon.
I feel like you know those horses that pull the horse-drawn carriages, and you
Yeah.
have to put the
The
blinders,
blinders,
on.
yeah.
I feel like we all are like as actors, like you are those kind of horses that, because you know, it's funny, we're at a pony convention, huh? But we're easy to scare, so it's like, oh!
Yeah.
And you just need the agent are the blinders that
Yeah.
just kind of keep you
Just like-
focused and keep you going.
Focus. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, we'll just see things out here and go like, oh, my career.
Just the other horses are going faster.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
a tiny addendum. Like, Kazumi said she couldn't whistle. Well, I can't make horse noises. So when we were doing Lolly Rocks, she was always my stunt horse. I was like, ooh.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I walked around my house going,
There's a reason you all are
so
pros.
badly.
Yeah. Well, and we know our limitations.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
it's like, I can't make a horse noise. Who can make a horse noise? And I do love those moments when the director goes, who can whistle? And like, everybody kind of sheepishly, because even though we're actors and sometimes confident, we'll sort of go like, I'll give it a shot. And then somebody will like whistle the most, like, you know, songbird tune, and you're just like, why don't you just do that? You go like, no, give it a shot.
Oh, who's doing that?
like, who can burp?
Alicia, like when we were trying to do the whistle for our
Yes.
show, Kazumi, just like, who can whistle? And Alicia just goes like,
I
I can't do it.
know, I
And I was
know,
like,
and-
okay.
Well, but see, when someone asks, like, can anyone whistle, I just back away from the mic. I'm not even one of those actors that I'm like, oh yeah, maybe. I'm like, no, I just know it's out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's an animal noise, I grew up on a farm, so like, I'm like, okay. You know, it's like the one time I could confidently tell my parents, I was like, hey mom, you remember the sounds I used to annoy you with as a kid? It was a job today, mom.
I'm constantly working on my clown horn, but I know that the Dobson brothers do it like perfectly. But I'm just waiting for them to not be in my session so I can try it. Do you want to hear it? Yeah. I'm working on it. It's not that good, guys. It's fine. I'm working on it. Like I said, it's a work in
But
progress.
that's going to be tough, Shannon. There's 3 of them.
Brutal. brutal.
There's 3.
Can anyone do the car siren thing that's been popular on the internet where you hit a note and then you just bump yourself in the throat?
Oh God, don't
without,
Maybe don't try it.
Well, one guy actually hits himself and goes, and he's just out. No, yeah, comedy and tragedy. They're just like this. They're like, oh, I can't do it. But it made me laugh, and I want to try it, but I'm not a professional, so if I do really stupid things,
Yeah.
I embarrass myself.
You do the Dalek. Exterminate! Exterminate!
I still like want to be able to do that. Like raindrop thing. That raindrop. You know what I mean. Not never mind.
Yeah, I can't do that
Next
either.
question. I've got a good question. We're going down a rabbit hole.
We basically just sit here and do stupid human tricks the entire
No,
time.
I am amused. I'm quite amused.
But if anyone does have stupid human tricks, I would like to see them.
That's my stupid human trick.
Very good.
That's my stupid human
I
trick.
like it.
Okay, so this one, this is a sort of deep question. Where are we in animated voiceover right now? Do you think things have transitioned in terms of style, humor, wackiness, tone, etc., like comparing, say, 80s animation to now?
I have no idea what it was like in the old days. I'm the spring chicken.
Say in the 90s, it was a little bit more wacky, voices like this and all this
Yeah.
stuff, but now things tend to be more real sounding, like actual human beings. taking
Yeah,
the characters.
I mean, I didn't do voice acting in the 80s or 90s, but I definitely have noticed since I started in the early 2000s that it's gotten to be a little bit more, they want real. They say, we want you to be real characters.
Sound like Emma Stone.
And
Do your own voice.
yeah, just be you, and then you're auditioning for a cartoon, and so there's this skepticism in the mind of like, are you sure?
Well, and half the time they don't really know what they
Because
want.
then you
let's be
hear it
honest.
get cast, and then you're like, no, not that real sounding to me. But there's that push toward that. They want this sort of like almost film actor kind of style in animation now. It seems to me.
Yeah, I feel like in the audition rounds, it's always like, we want this real style, but then you get to the record and they're like, and it's a cartoon. And then you're
Really
like,
fast
so that went out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pace is one thing I've noticed from the 80s, 90s to now, is that everything is fast. And depending on who you're working with, but in general, the main note that I've heard in most sessions, apart from stop being so Bill, is pace it up.
Pick it up.
Pace it up. Like, come on, we'll do that again. Like, that was great, acting beats and everything, fine, but we need to, cut that down, do it faster. And Kazumi and I are working currently with Charlie Adler, who is famous for just So I think the first few weeks it was like, just walk out of the session like the hair blown back on your head. And he's patching in from LA, so it's a really, that's a good job if he can blow our hair back from there. But just pace has definitely, I went back and watched a bunch of the old Animaniacs, and it's not like where you're like, oh, it's so slow, but it's noticeably there's the beats, acting beats. And I try to take acting beats and be an actor, and they go you don't have time for that.
Yeah, but I've also been in sessions and no one in particular, I can't even think about anyone in particular, but even for myself when it's pace it up, you still have to understand what you're saying, and sometimes if you say it so fast, it's just it just doesn't make sense, and the scene doesn't actually play, and you're just so busy trying to be fast and quick that
get caught between
you're
that
like,
rock.
what did I even just say? I made no sense out of that monologue I was supposed, So I think there's it's a blessing and a curse as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you have to do do some work before you go to that. You have to read your script to go.
No, definitely. I think just from what I've seen, cartoons or animations from the 80s and 90s, there's more of a slapstick element to it, as especially with the classics, whether it's Looney Tunes or anything like that. Where nowadays it's a lot faster and there's a lot more dialogue, and yeah, it's
Yeah, the gags are a lot more dialogue based and verbal.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more so in the writing rather than in the animation itself.
One cool thing, though, I find is that there's a lot more emotional depth than from what we
Very
grew up
true,
watching.
yeah.
A lot of it was sort of just surface. Let's help each other, but it wasn't like. That sounded terrible.
What show is that?
But not even going to touch on but it was that sort of like, it was kind of one note, and now you have to have a lot of depth to this. There's a lot of depth in the writing to the struggle of what's going on with each
Yeah.
character. So that's kind of cool because it shows we're evolving.
Yeah.
Just what we offer to our children as far as emotional struggles and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It's realistic in that way is really cool.
Yeah,
like
this
My
show-
Little Pony is really incredible
this show
for
is a
that.
perfect
The writing
example,
is
yeah.
really amazing because you're actually dealing with real human conflict and important things. And sometimes it's subtle and sometimes it's huge, but
Yeah.
there's,
I've been on some super shallow modern shows.
there are still shallow modern
Yeah,
shows,
yeah,
it's true.
there are, but I do agree, like, some of them are, they're much more evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go for it. All right. So if you have a question for our lovely guests of honor, go ahead and line up right there.
Oh, goodness.
There you go.
Can we say kids first, please?
Little ones first, please.
Children first, please. Go ahead and line up at the microphone.
Kids first.
Come on, that guy with the green thing, that's a 40-year-old.
That was fast.
I can tell.
I know, yeah. I think people were waiting, audience Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's have our first question. Come on up.
Hello again, Tabitha.
Hello, duckling, how are you?
Doing very well. I have a question for all of you. What are your least and most favorite characters? It doesn't have to be from the My Little Pony show, but at least any show. Like, what is your least and most favorite?
I love Merida from Brave. She's one of my favorite characters. I'll just go right ahead and say that. And I love Trixie from MLP quite a bit. And I love all of the characters you guys play, obviously.
Yeah.
It's cheap, but I had to go there.
Moana from Moana. Yeah, she's also my niece just loves that show, so watched it many times. Yeah, well, pretty much all the Disney stuff I just love, so we all know that. So
David Spade, Emperor's New Groove.
Solid.
I
Solid.
love that movie so much.
Yeah.
My voice.
I love David Spade.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank.
Take your time.
Favorite.
One of my favorites, I just started rewatching it again, but would be Dr. Venture from the Venture Brothers. James Urbaniak does an amazing job. And that whole show was a sort of we talked about our inspirations for voice acting and acting in general. And when that first came out, which I think was the early 2000s, that was another kind of revival of my love of animation and voiceover, because it was in that sort of first group of animated shows where it was like, oh, this is for adults. This is like grown up, like more mature animation. It was where all the people who had grown up with the 80s stuff were now in their 20s and 30s and were making cartoons and were lampooning them and making fun of them and kind of working them in. And I was like, oh, this speaks to me on deep, deep levels. Oh, wait. Yes. So good.
Well, thank you for your question.
Thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
My question is, has there ever been a time in a recording studio where it took ages to do a recording and you just couldn't get it right or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes, especially at the beginning of a show, when they're just still figuring out between the producers and the director and the writers and everybody what they want the cast to sound like. Sometimes we will maybe go overtime and they don't want that. So they really try to like get you focused really, really fast, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you end up taking an extra hour to get one episode done. And often that kind of thing, they'll just go back just later and redo stuff.
Yeah.
It's called pickups. But sometimes you're like, when are we gonna get out of here? And sometimes it doesn't have to do with the actors, it might have to do with the other side of the glass. You know, where they're in the room and going, what do they want from us?
It's always
because
always
they're
the
not
other side of
saying
the glass.
anything. So there's that too. Yeah, it can take a long time.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Good question.
So I'm next. All
Mufasa?
right. Technically Mufasa's boy, but you're close.
Mufasa's boy.
Anyways, boy. Yeah, thank you. Anyways, hi again. It's great to see you guys again.
Hello.
But getting to meet you guys yesterday was a lot of fun, and it's definitely a memory I'll be cherishing for years. And my question is, of all the My Little Pony stuff that you've done, both from the show and Equestria Girls, what was your favorite episode and why?
Dog and Pony Show.
Oh, yes. I love that one.
I thought you would. It's so long ago. I don't know. It's just silly, and I like the contrast, and it's so fun. I love the Diamond Dogs. They were ridiculous, and they were ridiculous to be paired with such a such a pristine pony like myself.
A whining pony.
Yeah. The wine box. I posted it. I don't know if you've seen it. Somebody yesterday gave me what they call the wine box, which is you press buttons and it does all the Rarity's whining. So I was sitting in my hotel room listening to myself whine.
Yeah, that was classic.
It's awesome.
You want some cheese to go with that wine?
Exactly.
I think my favorite was probably Shadowplay Parts 1 and 2. Because I love to play a villain. So yeah, playing the Pony of Shadows was like, you get to chew the scenery with full license. It's just like, how big can I do this? And are they going to pull me back? Like where they'll go like, let's dial that down, and they never did. Yeah.
I liked when the episode, I don't know the name of the episode, I like the episode where Sugar Belle and Big Mac kind of got their wires crossed, and it was so cute when they kind of finally come back together. It was fun acting with Peter New because he's a funny guy. funny. He's a funny guy and talented too.
I don't know the name of the episode, but the episode in which This Day Aria is sung, because there's a wedding, and it's a happy ending.
Canterlot
Everything
wedding.
I like.
She's our Disney princess. She's like happily ever after.
Big girl.
My favorite is the Cutie Mark Crusaders. When they get their cutie marks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that
I
was
like
an
tattoos,
awesome one.
and I like tattoos.
Those were great choices, and
Thank
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and thank you guys for everything.
Cheers.
Good luck on what's coming next.
Thank
and
you.
Hakuna Matata.
Hello again.
Hey.
Now, this may or may not be a question on everybody's mind, but it's certainly on my mind. Like, let's face it, we knew this was coming, that MLP, Friendship is Magic, is coming to an end.
That was one of my questions.
But the question is, what's next? What should we expect? Are you guys gonna be voicing in like the next generation, Generation 5, or what?
Even if we knew, we for sure couldn't tell you.
Isn't it a weird thing, like even in your life when, and not to get heavy, but when something dies, you're like, okay, all life should cease now because this,
Yeah.
and it does, and things just keep moving and moving. The universe is just throwing things at us left, right, and center. So, I loved the time that we had doing it, but honestly, I think the future is going to be even better. No clue what it's going to be.
Let's just be thankful it's not like The Simpsons.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I could stand to earn $1 million an episode, couldn't you?
No, I might have to say no because of my scruples.
Yeah, no.
They're so yellow.
I wouldn't mind being on a show for 30 years.
That's right, I went there.
You might. You might.
You don't know till you get there.
You're still young, Bill.
I'll go take those photographs with my millions of dollars.
When I was 40 years old, I played Little Red Riding Hood.
So last week.
Last week. So 2 hours ago, I played Little Red Riding Hood in Into the Woods, and I started having nightmares about me in kids' dresses getting older and older and older, in little tiny kids' dresses, so you kind of. You do have to change.
You have to grow out of
Yeah.
So I had a little kid's voice for so long, and I was about that big.
At Can Stage.
Can Stage, yeah.
I think I saw Tabitha when I was going to musical theater school in Toronto at Canadian Stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandmother's house. Into the woods. Yeah, totally. Sorry.
Amazing.
But we had a great 10-year run, didn't we,
Yeah,
guys?
I mean, this is a fantastic show, and the thing I love about this show is that the fandom has come together over this generation of the show, and it's only going to keep growing and evolving itself as well. You guys have made so many friendships. Friendship truly is magic. Like, I see people all the time coming to these conventions who have never met in person before and finally get to meet each other, and people who are bringing things to get signed for their best friend who lives in Bulgaria and stuff like that. And it's a beautiful beginning to these relationships, and so those are going to be nonstop and never ending. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for your
Thank you
question.
for
Thank you. And to
Questions.
answer your question on who was doing the bird noises in the crowd.
Oh, way to rub it in.
Yay, stupid
Not
imagery.
fair. Stupid imagery.
Take that, Kazumi.
No, I never tried.
Come on up.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Bill. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
The way I like to begin this is like to give a compliment to everybody on the panel. I didn't do this last year, and I regret that every moment, so I'm not going to skip anybody. So, Shannon, I absolutely love you as the voices of Smolder and other characters you've done on the show.
Thank you.
Kazumi, you have such a beautiful voice and did a wonderful job with Octavia Melody. Rebecca, love you as Sunset Shimmer.
Thank you.
Tabitha, we love you as Rarity, probably Best Unicorn, and Luna as Best Princess.
Bring it home strong, Taylor. Come on.
And my friend Bill Noon, Best Pony of Shadows and Best Parents on our show as Bride Mac.
You got it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, dude.
Now I feel
Praise
bad.
the me.
So my question for you guys is, did you ever have a character on any show that you worked on that made a positive impact on your life in particular?
Oh yeah, I got one. It's the show that Kazumi and I are working on now because it's the first time I've ever had regular work. And that's partially a joke, but also true. It's that first sort of job that where outside forces tell you that you're doing well, like you're doing the right thing. Like somebody liked my stuff enough to get to the callback stage, to get to the booking stage, to put me on the series, and I get to work, like, it sounds, and I've heard this so many times from other voice actors as well, and now I know it's true. It sounds so Pollyanna-ish, but it's just like when you go to work, like you get to work with wonderful people, like all of these people here, and we miss it. Like we've been on a little break for our show, and we've been messaging each other, and Kazumi and I took a picture like yesterday and sent it to our co-star Alicia, and we were just like, we miss you. But it's really true because it's not just doing what you love, but it's doing it with people that you love as well. So, like that show that I'm on now, I've had many positive experiences, but that was one where I was just like, I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's the first time that I've had that. So for me, that's that. That's that one.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
It's pretty nice.
You say outside forces
Nice.
gave you the approval, but honestly, it really does. You don't maybe realize it, but it really does happen in reverse. You kind of get your ducks in a row, and then you get that mirror back. And you may not know that you're doing it, and it may seem like a great big struggle, but
you know, it's actually you do it.
The
and
mirror
then
is a
it
really
goes-
good analogy because
Yeah.
it's like I can't really see like my whole self, but then you look in the mirror and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I had it
Yeah.
together, and then you see it reflected
Yeah.
back, and you go, nice.
But you can't like soup it up in the mirror. You can't change the mirror, right?
Yeah.
It'd be really nice if you could. But you got to just sort of, it comes from you first, and then the world goes, whoosh, that's what you look like. Yes, please.
Just get it.
Thank you.
I think just getting to do this job, because all I ever wanted to do as a kid was to tell stories and be a performer. And I think it's such a blessing in life to be able to go to work every day and do something that you love. No matter what that is, whether it's acting or writing or anything in life. So I think just getting to do the job that I love, it just makes me so grateful every day. And I think just getting to work at it every day just makes me happy and changes my life for the better. Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you guys very much, and
you.
happy Easter, and God bless you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Happy
you have a good
Easter.
one. Speaking of Easter,
Well,
Good morning, everyone.
morning.
Legends of Awesomeness, the actor who plays Poe, I'm blanking on his name, but he told a wonderful story where his agent came to him and said, hey, I got great news. I got you lined up for an audition for this new show. You're going to be doing Jack Black's part on Legends of Awesomeness. And he came back at his agent and said, I've never done Jack Black. So he spent the next week watching every Jack Black movie and music video and whatever else. So for anyone on the panel, I'm curious, is there any TV shows or movies or anything that you've watched specifically to cram on either a particular voice or a type of voice?
Every audition.
Yeah.
We often get like a list of people who they would like. The writers envision the character sounding like, and so you go and thank God for YouTube, my
Yeah.
friends. Like we research pretty much every single audition we get, because you have to know the tone of what the writers are looking for. We don't get a lot of information. We get a character description. We get about 3 or 4 lines to say usually, or maybe if we're lucky or not lucky, 3 pages of dialogue. Usually you often don't even see what the other characters are saying, so you don't even know what you're responding to or any description of what's going on in the scene. And so if they say they want you to sound like this, you just take all the information that you can and you go there and you take that opportunity. So yeah, definitely cramming. But one in particular that I had a fun time doing, which wasn't even voice acting related, I was doing a show with a band, and we performed at this big club at Halloween every year. And we were about a 10-piece band, and we were doing themed costuming. And one of the girls in the cast, because we were doing Star Wars as our theme, and this was before the next generations of like the prequels came out and everything, so she was a shoo-in for Leia. Long brown hair, side buns and everything would have been perfect. I'm like, I'm not going to be like the girl who gets killed by Jabba the Hutt in the first 30 seconds of Return of the Jedi. So, and could I do Yoda? I don't want to do a whole performance on my knees. So I studied, and I made myself an Ewok costume. And my husband remembers me being like this close from the TV. Yep, nub, 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 and like practicing Ewok language and learning the song and stuff, and studying like all these like different voices. She was an Ewok. I was an Ewok. So I built a costume and I studied like this close from the television screen. And that was a long time ago, before YouTube.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No, I was an Ewok in the cartoon series.
Love these cosplays.
But yes, my voice is probably giving out on me a little bit, but I wanted to say a quick thank you and then my question. The thank you to Rebecca. You were mentioning the difficulty you went through playing Sunset Shimmer's reforming role. I actually have a colleague with a young daughter who learned to forgive a bully at her school, a sort of Queen Bee character, from the humanization of that she saw in Sunset Shimmer.
Wow.
So know that was worth it to someone.
Nice. And the writers, right? Thank you.
And then the question, which is something Bill brought up, and I'd love to hear an answer from all of you, the idea of working off of people, because we have shared characters here, Rarity, Princess Luna, various others, where, of course, if multiple of you are involved in one character, just as you were with Tara, or you might have been with Andrea, how do you sort of coordinate the characterization and the sharing of the development of that, especially, say, for Princess Luna, who has so little screen time that every little bit of voicing makes so much of what the audience thinks of her?
my PowerPoint presentation. No, that's a big question. What was the first part?
Like, how do you collaborate with
Another
like
actor, or do
another
you-
actor? Like, if you share
well-
parts of the role.
Oh,
or, yeah.
if you share parts of the role, like, so I'm the front of the horse, and Kazumi's
And
the
I'm
back.
the horse.
But it's kind of true. When she sings, she's the front of the horse, and I'm the horse's apple of her eye.
Honestly, I think from my perspective, I think we just admire one another and we're all really close and we're friends and there's no rivalry. And I think we're just happy and grateful to play the parts that we play and whatever our colleague, Andrea, she's phenomenal. And so every time she's in the room, I just love to watch her and I get so stoked to sing for her. It's just not, I guess it's something I don't really think about because it doesn't feel like.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
But
your
was
it's
the
a collaboration.
It's a collaborative.
Was the question though about how you study, or do you work on the role together?
Yes, especially how do you breathe additional detail and characterization into the
Right.
character and make sure that it's consistent between two actors.
Well, for me, Tara voiced Twilight, and I got to sing for that role. But they kept telling me just do your natural singing voice. But I do listen to her and I study her. So if there's any little sort of nuance that she has in her voice, like a little way she'll clip the end of a word or go up, I try to add that in so that. But we don't talk. I don't talk to Tara and go, Tara Strong, how do you do that part? Like, because we don't live in the same city, and there's no it's no powwow for that. I just have to do the job that suits the role the best. That's my job. And they cast me to do it, so I have to trust that because I keep going, really? You really think so? Like at the beginning, of course, like, are you sure? And then you're like, just be yourself, do your thing. And so the producers and directors know what they're doing.
It's spooky how much you sound like her when you sing.
Sometimes I keep thinking people are gonna find me out. And they'll be like, no, it really is
No,
Tara.
we all know.
Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to ask Tabitha, because she's the only one who can answer this. How was it like working on the 200th episode?
I haven't seen it yet. Oh dear.
If you haven't seen it yet.
What can I say
It aired
that
on
doesn't
Saturday.
have spoilers?
Maybe not everyone though.
That's okay. Well, we were all in a boardroom. I won't tell you anything about the script, but we were all in a boardroom at DHX, and we had like a big mountain of candy, and everybody was putting that in their faces, and it made the ideas idiosyncratic, let's just say. And I just don't know how the writers put it together, because they asked for an idea from all of us. And every single, I came with a list of ideas, so one of my ideas made the cut. But every single one of us had an idea and a kind of a segment in the thing. And Tara was on Skype, and she was going out for the evening, so she was putting on her makeup in the Skype. So it looked like she was giving us kissy face, which is always lovely. Except one time she gave me kissy face, and I had a great big red lipstick mark, which I saw on the monitors when I saw it later for a whole day. Good stick-to-it lipstick, but anyway, that's beside the point. I don't know what I can tell you. Other than that, it was a lot of fun. And then Josh and Nicole were like writing stuff down, like mad scientists, which was fun. Josh had his hair dyed kind of crazy. Nicole seemed like a really sane mom, and everybody else was mad as a hatter.
That's great. You did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've got to have somebody to steer the ship.
Yeah.
That's the call.
So one thing we think that's been talked about a lot on the panel is different animated properties. So I wanted to ask, what is each of your favorite animated property that you have not been in?
Animated what?
Tintin.
Animated property? Not been in. Oh.
Tintin.
Tintin?
Tintin.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
Snowy.
J'aimerais être dans le Tintin.
Probably the Venture Brothers. And I think it's still going. It's like 4 years between seasons because it's all worked on by 2 to 3 people. So there's still hope.
That's how I've interpreted it to be.
I don't understand the question.
Oh, so like
Do you mean like your favorite show that is not My Little Pony that we have not partaken in at all?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Okay,
show,
there we
movie,
go.
anything
There we go.
animated.
But would like to be in?
No,
Oh,
just favorite animated show of all time that you've not been in.
Oh.
You might want to be on it.
I get it now. Like pretty much any Disney movie. Like anything.
I like we're on the Disney train. I really quite liked Rugrats as a kid. Yeah! And I still do. So I was pretty stoked when I found out Tara was in that. So that's awesome.
I liked Pepper Ann. And I liked Recess.
Yeah!
And I liked Hey Arnold. I love Football Head. I love him.
And Arthur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magic School Bus.
Magic
Yeah.
School Bus.
Magic
Yeah.
School
Yeah.
Bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the bus! Yeah. Let's frizzle. Oh, I started something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got about 5 minutes left, so we can speed round.
Let's
do it.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank everyone, you guys, for your work on My Little Pony.
Thank you.
I also like to thank Rebecca for her role as Sunset Shimmer. So I have a question for Rebecca. In the Equestria Girls special, Forgotten Friendship, so we, the audience, we finally get to see Sunset reuniting and reconciling with Princess Celestia. And what I'm curious about is at that moment, reunion and reconciliation, was this something that you know was going to happen for years since the first Equestria Girls movie, or was it something that the writers only just told you about before they began Forgotten Friendship and it came as a surprise?
It was, I mean, I was hoping for it to happen, but you never know what's going to come until you read the script. And so the fans were like, when is there going to be a moment with Princess Celestia? And I was like, yeah, when? And then it finally happened, and I was like, yay! So that, that happened like that. It's pretty simple. I just read the script and I go, yay, that happened.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you for your work on Equestria Girls.
Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Sorry, just to interject. One thing is that you never get introduced on these panels as Wallflower Blush, but in Forgotten Friendship, that was Shannon Chan-Kent playing Wallflower Blush, the evil shy girl. You didn't notice because she's Wallflower Blush.
It's only in character. Anyway, good morning.
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 Shannon, I'd like to thank you very much for singing My Sunshine. Every time I hear that song, I tear up because of a comic I read by some artist who, a Thestral family, one of the night guard for Luna, they made a comic about that where a mother had to give up their child to the guard and she had to fly off and it was really sad, but makes me happy. Anyway, now that I don't have 100 questions for each of you, Bill.
Yes.
I have both a bit of information for you.
Okay.
I have just a question rather, and a request if you're willing.
Well, let's see what it is.
Okay, so firstly, a bit of information. I like to bring this up to anyone who has an Australian accent because I think it's a little bit of funny.
Okay.
You're funny.
Can you say for me, rise up lights?
Oh, you mean razor blades?
There you go. Okay, cool.
No,
You do know it.
I know that trick.
All right, nice.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know how to speak in an Australian accent with your North American accent, you say rise up lights in your accent.
Rise up lights. Rise up lights.
You just said razor blades in an Australian accent. Well done.
There you go.
Oh!
All right, cool. I'm glad you know that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my request.
Yeah.
As Bright Mac, could you please say, Pear Butter, I love you, and I always will.
Pear butter, I love you, and I always will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good. That was really good, Bill.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. If you all could cosplay as any creature from My Little Pony, what creature would it be? You can say like just a species or the name of the creature. I don't really.
A sea pony.
Oh.
A gummy. Me too, a gummy.
Changeling.
I approve.
Changelings.
Because then I can also cosplay as anything.
It's true.
It's like the 3 wishes, like you wish for more wishes. I gotcha.
I've thought of doing the Sunset Shimmer when she's floating up and she gets her unicorn horn, and that, like, is that in Friendship Games?
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool cosplay, I thought. And I don't know how I'd make my eyes white and glowing.
Just pour paint. Paint in your eyes.
I think I might study up on that.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Wait.
Oh,
Wait.
oh, oh.
Wait. I would like to offer you, as a character choice, that you might want to make a Tabitha St. Germain Memorial Gravy Boat.
All right, folks. So we are just about out of time right now. Give everyone a round of applause. We've learned so much. Thank you all so much.
Thank